Hello, my name is Ileana and I'm so happy to be with you with one more video, one more class. And today we're going to talk about fantasy stories. Yes, again, fantasy stories, but in this case we're gonna make a twist. You wanna know what are we going to talk about? Let's continue watching the video. Very good, so let's start. The first thing that I want you to know is that fantasy stories have some elements, but what kind of elements? Okay, let's talk about them. The first element that I want to talk about is the title, okay? The title is the name of the story. In this case, I'm giving you an example with Shrek. That's the title. Remember, is the name of the story. The second element that we're going to talk about is the plot. The plot is a summary of the story. It's what the story is about. Okay, in this case, I'm giving you an example. In this case, I'm showing you one example of a plot. It's like the story. The third element that I want to talk about is the narrator. Okay, the narrator is the person who tells the story. In this case, remember that I always say that you have to pay attention to the words that sounds like similar in Spanish. Okay, in this case, narrator is very similar to Spanish. So remember, narrator is the person who tells the story. Let's continue. Other element that is very, very important is the setting, because the setting is where the story takes place. Remember that this word place means, like, for example, I'm going to give you examples of places. The park is a place. The castle is a place, a house is a place, okay? So is where the story takes place. In this case, I'm giving you the example far, far away. The setting of Shrek's movie is far, far away, okay? And as you can see, we have here a little castle. So let's continue. Other element that is really, really important are the characters. The character, singular, one character, two characters with S, okay? So the characters are people, animals, or imaginary creatures that appear in this story. And I'm giving you these examples, like, for example, the cat in the boots, donkey, Shrek is a character, Fiona is also a character, the dragon is a character, okay? Pinocchio is a character. So the character, remember, people, animals, or imaginary creatures that appear in the story. And the characters, we have like two types of characters. The main characters and the secondary characters, okay? The main character. What is a main character? Remember, character, singular, one. Characters, a lot, okay? Two or more. So the main characters are the most important characters in the story. For example, in Shrek's story, they are the main characters. Shrek and Fiona, they are the principal actors in the story, okay? That's mean main character. And the secondary characters, or also called supporting characters, are characters that appear frequently in the story and help the main character to reach the goal. For example, we have here Donkey and the Cat in the Boots. They are supporting characters, like, listen, like in Spanish, support, okay? Help Shrek to reach a goal. And what is the goal? The Princess Fiona, okay? To rescue the Princess Fiona, okay? Let's continue. Other element of the story is the climax. It's the most exciting part of the story. For example, in this case, I'm showing you Donkey discovers that Fiona turns into an ogre at the sunset. So that's a very important part of the story, right? Like, oh my God, it's almost night. Oh my God, Fiona is an ogre. But what? It's supposed that she is a princess. Okay, that's the climax. Like the most important part, the most impactant part of the story. And we also have a twist. As I told you at the beginning of the class, a twist is a sudden change in the story intended to surprise. Okay, for example, I give you this example when when the very good mother in Shrek's movie turns into an evil person. She was like sweet and very kind and happy, and suddenly twist into a bad person, a mad person. Okay, that's the twist. And for example, with the very good mother, when she turns into a bad person, you say, oh my god, that surprised you, right? Because you were thinking all the movie that she is a good person, and suddenly she transformed into a bad person. You say, oh my god, right? Okay, so those are the elements of the story. Remember, now I have to tell you that fantasy stories also are divided into 3 parts. So let's check the parts of the story. The first part is the opening. The opening is the first part of the story. It introduces the topic of the story, characters, and setting. Opening, remember, like the verb open, like when I say open the door. Yes? Okay, that's the opening, the beginning of the story, the first part. Okay? Then we have the body, or also it's called development. Okay? Body or development is a sequence of the events that happen in the story. It's like the story. What happened, and then what happened, and then what happened. Okay? And finally, we have the ending. The ending is the final part of the story, the end. Okay? I'm gonna show you examples of an opening, body of development, and ending. Check. Opening is the beginning of the story, the first part of the story. Body or development, where the story is telling, okay? The part of the story literally. And finally, the end, okay? Like when you're watching the movie and at the end of the movie appears this word, the end, okay? And now that you already know the elements of the story and the parts of the story, we're going to change a little bit the topic, okay? And now we're going to talk about WH questions, okay? And at the end of this explanation, we're going to put together the topics, fantasy stories with WH questions, okay? So what are the WH questions? Remember that these are words that help us to ask someone, okay? Questions. Remember to relate the word questions, questionaries in Spanish sounds very similar, okay? And we have the different WH questions. For example, what, where, who, why, when. But let's talk about them a little bit specific, okay? So let's start. What? What is a WH question that will help us to talk about things, okay? Things. I'm going to show you things, and all these are things. A hat is a thing. What else? A Coke is a thing. A paper bag is a thing, okay? Things. Then we have where. Where is when we want to ask for a place. Remember places. The park is the place, the house is a place, okay? So where, this word will help us to ask for places. Then we have when. When help us to ask for date and time. That's why we have a clock here, okay? Date and time. When. Then we have why, and why help us to ask for a reason. It's very similar to the word in Spanish, reason. Okay, let's continue. We have then the word who. Remember, WH questions help us to ask. In this case, who help us to ask for a person, okay? In this case, who is the magician? Harry Potter. Or who is the girl with the long and ginger hair? Hermione, okay? So remember, who help us to ask for person, for a person. And then we have which. Which help us to ask for an option. For example, if I ask you, which is your Harry Potter's house? Which? We have 4 options: Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Slytherin. Which is your house? For example, my house is Hufflepuff. Okay, so which, remember, options. And the last one is the word how. And how help us to ask for a manner. Manner, it sounds very similar to Spanish, manner. In this case, I'm going to use this part of the story. For example, if I want to ask you, how did Harry Potter get his scar? How? Oh, Voldemort with the magic wand. Okay, and oh, that's how Harry Potter got the scar. Okay, so remember, how is when you want to ask for a manner. Okay, and we already finished the class. Yay! All the explanation is done. But now remember that I always make you a challenge. And today's challenge is that you have to watch the next video. And when you finish to watch the video, I'm going to ask you 5 questions with WH questions. So let's watch the video and I'm going to make you the questions when you finish. So continue watching the video. Don't go.
I still need a wand.
A wand? Well, you want Ollivander's. There ain't no place better. Why don't you run along there and wait? I just got one more thing I got to do. Won't be long.
Hello? Hello?
I wondered when I'd be seeing you, Mr. Potter.
It seems only yesterday that your mother and father were in here buying their first wands. Here we are.
Okay, now you finished to watch the video. Did you like it? Yes, it was good, right? It's about Harry Potter. But now is the challenge. I have here 5 questions. And the 5 questions start with WH questions, with WH words. Okay? The first question is, listen, it's very, very easy, this question. Who is the main character? Okay, so let's analyze the question. Okay, the first thing that you have to know is who. Who. We use who to ask for a person. So you have the first part. Okay, the first part of the answer. You have to look for a person as an answer. Okay, and then we have main character. We already know what is a main character. So easy is very, very easy to answer this question. Let's continue with the number 2. Let's analyze the number 2. Who, remember, who asks for a person, right? So you have the first part of the answer. Who is the supporting character? Supporting character. Very easy because you know what who means and you already know what is a supporting character, or also called secondary character. Okay, let's analyze the number 3. What Remember that what is used to ask for things. Okay, and then let's continue. The magical object of the fantasy story. The magical object is very easy. I'm sure that you have your answer. The number 4. Okay, let's analyze the number 4. The number 4, the first thing, identify. WH question, what? What asks us for a thing? And listen, the setting of the story. The setting. Do you remember when we explained what is the setting? Yes, and the example that I gave you was Far, Far Away Kingdom from Shrek's story. Yes? Okay, so I'm sure that you have the answer for this question. And one more question. Let's analyze it. How? Identify the WH questions. How? How help us to ask for manner. Okay, so they are expecting us to answer a manner. Okay, let's continue reading. How does the story end? And is the specific word that will help you to understand this question. Very easy, right? So remember, when you have this type of exercises, the first thing that you have to do is identify WH questions, okay? If you know the meaning of a WH question, it will be easier for you answer the questions and look up for the answers, of course. Okay? And now, the complement of the question. In this case, the complements are the main character, the supporting character, the magical object, the setting of the story ends. So that's why it's very, very important that in your classes you pay attention to the vocabulary, because the vocabulary that you learn will help you to understand the next class. And the vocabulary that you learn in this class will help you to understand the next class. Okay, so that's why you have to pay attention to everything. And we finished the class. Yay! Thank you for watching my videos and I hope you liked them. I made it with a lot of love for all of you. Thank you for watching, and remember, all the vocabulary is very important because, as I told you before, the things that you learn today will help you tomorrow. Okay? Thank you for watching my videos. I love you. Bye.